My parents were sick of my sister, so they removed part of her brain. My parents believed that children's problems were a waste of time, so when my sister got depressed, they paid a doctor to drill into her skull and scramble her brain so she'd finally stop crying all the time. Growing up, I always knew they found our problems annoying. When I broke my arm falling off my bike, they told me to stop being dramatic and wrap it myself. When my little brother's tonsils swelled up to the size of golf balls, they said he was doing it for attention. But what they did to my sister Claire was unforgivable. Claire started showing signs of depression when she was 14. She'd stay in bed all day. She stopped eating. She cried constantly. Normal parents would get their kid therapy or medication. My parents told her she was ruining the household atmosphere and to snap out of it. "You have nothing to be sad about," Mom would say while Claire sobbed at the dinner table. "This is a choice you're making." Dad would turn the TV volume up to drown out her crying. They acted like depression was something she was doing to personally inconvenience them. When Claire tried to tell them she needed help, Mom laughed in her face. Help with what? Being a teenager? We all went through it without making such a production. Claire begged them to take her to therapy. Dad said therapists were scam artists who created problems that didn't exist. "You want to talk about your feelings? Write in a diary like a normal girl." But Claire was drowning and they were standing on the shore complaining about how loud she was being while she went under. Things got worse when Claire stopped going to school. The truancy officers started calling. My parents were furious, but not because they were worried about Claire. They were mad about the inconvenience. "Now we have to deal with the school board because you can't get out of bed?" Mom screamed at her. That's when they started researching permanent solutions. I found the pamphlets in Dad's office. Wilderness camps, military schools. And then at the bottom of the pile was a brochure for something called therapeutic psychosurgery. The word lobotomy was in small print at the bottom. I tried to warn Claire, but she didn't believe me. "They wouldn't," she said. But she didn't know them like I did. They absolutely would. 2 weeks later, they told Claire they were taking her to see a specialist who could fix her permanently. "One simple procedure and you'll never feel sad again," Mom said with this sick smile. Claire thought they meant antidepressants. She actually looked hopeful. She got in the car willingly. They brought her back 3 days later and she was different. Not better. Different. The crying had stopped, but so had everything else. She sat at the dinner table and stared at nothing. She answered questions in this flat voice like she was reading from a script. When I asked her what happened, she touched the bandages on her temples and said, "They fixed me. I don't feel sad anymore." She didn't feel anything anymore. They'd paid some doctor to perform an ice pick lobotomy like it was 1952. He scrambled the part of her brain that felt inconvenient emotions. Living with lobotomized Claire was like living with a ghost. She'd sit in her room for hours doing nothing, not reading or watching TV, just sitting. She smiled when you told her to smile. She ate when you put food in front of her. She was the perfect daughter my parents had always wanted. Quiet, compliant, no problems. "See how peaceful our home is now?" Mom said one night at dinner while Claire stared at her mashed potatoes. "We should have done this years ago." I started recording everything. Videos of Claire's empty stare, photos of her surgical scars, documents from the doctor who did this to her. I was 17 and planning to report them the day I turned 18. But then my little brother started falling apart from the stress of seeing Claire vanish before his eyes. He was having panic attacks and nightmares and crying all the time about how he wanted his sister back. Mom found him hyperventilating in the bathroom. "Not another one," she said to Dad that night when she thought we couldn't hear. "I can't go through this again." The next day, I heard them on the phone with the same doctor who lobotomized Claire. "Yes, we have another child who needs help," Mom was saying. "Similar issues, lots of unnecessary emotions." They were going to do it again. They were going to